Hey y'all. So I was watching Snarky J here, and she was talking about how women and their role in the culture, specifically geek culture and nerddom, the fandom, and how they've kind of always been there. And I kind of had some thoughts I wanted to give on top of what she said. So first, let's kind of hear from her, and then I'll add on to it. Okay, so let me click on here.
I've spent more than my fair share of time on this channel talking about different women who have contributed to geek culture, female characters, and it's time I start asking, are we the problem? Hi y'all, Snarky J Cosplay here. It seems like every other day we're seeing headlines of some actress that may or may not have had anything to do with Star Wars complaining that of course her character was hated because she is a woman, because male fans of anything are toxic, that anything led by a woman will struggle in the media. And of course, as somebody who is a woman, someone who speaks in a primarily male-dominated space, I thought, who better to analyze this than me? That might be a little over the top, but anyway, I've done some thinking because every time a woman does anything and it doesn't work out, it's because people hate women. It's because women can't succeed, and to a certain extent, there are plenty of people who have problems with women out there, but I don't think that that's the majority, so continuously blaming the failures of anything woman related on misogyny seems a little cheap. So I started really analyzing this. Let's think for a moment about somebody like, I don't know, Leslie Headland, who wrote one of the worst pieces of Star
Vile,
Wars
vile
media
woman.
ever to come into existence. Think about Jessica Gao and the writer's room on She-Hulk, which made arguably one of the worst Marvel pieces of content. This might cause some people to question whether or not women should be part of a writer's room. I recently heard an argument like this and I almost threw up in my mouth. Because if we think about it, women, for almost the entire history of cinema, have been involved with the writer's room. In fact, a lot of your favorite movies probably had a woman's hand involved. Well,
And she's absolutely right. In fact, you should go check her out, Snarky J. She's a wonderful YouTuber. I love her. But so this is where I wanted to take over. So she goes on to explain how, because I don't want to watch this whole video. She goes on to explain how women have been contributing to fandom since time immemorial. I mean, famously with Star Wars, you had George Lucas's wife edit it, and she was a fantastic editor. There's several instances she gives, and she's like, "Look, women have been there from the start, and women will always be there because they're half the population for crying out loud." So, if it's not women in general that are ruining what we love today as our hobby, what's going on exactly? And that's kind of where I wanted to add on to this because as soon as I stopped watching this video, it just poured out of me and inspired me to kind of make this. So, there's this old meme from a long time ago that explains this, and then I have some other thoughts as well. So let me go through this old meme here. So let's go here. So it's called the degradation of a fan base or hobby, and like you can just tell from the drawing, this is old school, but it's still relevant. So basically, the way it starts off is you get a hobby that started off by some close friends, right? And then you get people to start to join. He wants to fit in, and it's kind of like a melting pot. And he wants to get along, so he acclimates to all the rules and stuff, and it's still fine. He starts to bring other people in that don't care, right? They don't care about the rules, and they just it starts to kind of break apart here. Well, now you get other people besides even more, and it's in this case here it's a woman, and this particular woman just wants attention. She doesn't want any sort of uh, she doesn't want to play the game. She doesn't want to partake in the hobby. She just wants to kind of glom onto some easy access to these people for whatever reason, and then it just devolves from there. You get other people that want the women's attention. It just gets worse and worse and worse. So this is an old meme, but it's still relevant because this kind of happens to the extent of what's going on today. But that's not what's going on today exactly. This is happening where this particular example is where you see the dumbing down of hobbies, right? Where you see stuff like I don't know. D&D just they it's notoriously I don't want to say it's complicated, but it is. There's a lot of rules and regulations that go to it, and you have to really pay attention. I don't even play D&D, but every game I've played, it's almost based on it. If you play any sort of old RPG or Magic Gathering or anything like that's based on D&D, so it has those typical roles, and you have to really want to uh, be immersed into that sort of thing, right? And they dumb down the rules to make it more accessible to people. And then when you get more people that are just acclimated to the easy stuff rather than the original stuff, it gets worse and worse and worse and devolves. But that's not where we're going wrong today. Where we're going wrong today, I think. And this is where I wanted to add my other thoughts that inspired me to make this video to begin with. What's going on today is we are tolerating too much. And so the problem here is tolerance. What do you mean by that? Well, think about. I think this kind of started with Star Wars, the Disney Star Wars. This is where it got kind of the light really shine on it because it's a huge property that's been well loved for over 40 years. So they really had to make it right. And the first one wasn't so bad. It wasn't as awful as some people like to make it out to be, but it wasn't good either because you had someone like Ray, who's untrained, beat a Luke Skywalker trained Sith like it was nothing. And so the cracks are starting to show. And why I say tolerance is the problem is because we tolerated that as fans. As fans, we didn't rise up. As producers, didn't uh, rise up against us. We have tolerated slow and sure slights against what we know and love more and more and more until we can't take it anymore. You can see this with uh, the LGBTQ stuff. You can see this with a whole lot of things in the culture to where it started off as innocent or benign. And then basically it's the whole adage of the frog slowly getting boiled in water until he's dead. That's what's been going on here. We have been tolerating just little increments here and there until instead of just inches, we now have a mile's worth of wrong. And so now it's going to take a mile's worth of correction to undo this. And so it's like, well, why are you going against tolerance? Tolerance is fine. Well, that's not true. You see, there's good ways to have tolerance and there's bad ways to have tolerance. You should tolerate your coworkers because you have to work with them and you're going to have to see them every day. But if you have kids and they do bad things, they have bad behavior, you can't tolerate that or the bad behavior will continue. And that's the case with this. We have filmmakers, we have video game developers who are doing bad things like uglifying women for no reason other than to virtue signal. We have uh, movie producers and movie directors and scriptwriters who are making stories that pander to a small section of the population. And by small, I mean a couple of percentage, and then they blame the audience for not watching their drivel and saying it's our fault. And so, but we've tolerated that in a way by not by giving into it or by trying to watch it. And so, thankfully, most people nowadays have caught on to this. They say, look, we're just not going to watch it. We're not going to pay our money for this. We're not going to spend our time on this. And Disney has been losing billions of dollars. Ubisoft recently has been losing billions of dollars. Sony has lost tons of money with Concord. Um, and I think eventually these companies are going to run out of money to virtue signal with and have their stockholders to answer to instead. And eventually this ship's going to turn around or they're going to go bankrupt. Thankfully, that's the way that capitalism still works. So I kind of wanted to throw that out there. I want to see what you guys think. Do y'all think tolerance is an issue, like I said? Or do y'all think maybe it's something else besides that, like feminism or something else? I didn't want to go on this too political. But Tell me what you guys think. Do all the things with the buttons, the comments, and all that. And I appreciate you guys' time. Have a great night.